My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for choosing us. Ahead of the presidential primaries of the New Patriotic Party, that Santehino said the second is entreating delegates to make a choice that will be widely accepted by Ghanaians as deserving to be president. By this, the Santehino believes the party would place the national interest above parochial and partisan interest. He says the NPP should make a choice competent enough to serve as president. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
NPP flag bearer aspirant Francis Adenimo, in the company of his campaign team and supporters, paid a courtesy call on the Asantehene at Menchia Palace. The visit was to make clear his intentions of contesting the NPP's flag bearership. The Asantehene says, though the election is internal, it has an impact on the country as a whole. He wants aspirants to foster peace by running clean campaigns devoid of insults. Your party is electing a person who will eventually become president of the country, not just leader of the party. So you should elect someone who will be accepted by all Ghanaians. As you go, make sure your campaign is devoid of insults. The former member of parliament for Mampong constituency made his first attempt in NPP's flag bearer race in 2024. He came third among 7 contestants in the primaries. Mr. Adenimo was out of the government formed after the party won elections in 2016. For the reason he believes his candidature is needed to win the NPP power in 2024.
Why not? I need to put myself forward. And in 2014, yes, I wasn't successful. Qualitatively, I emerged as the best qualitatively, even though I didn't win quantitatively. Now, at that time, the party was in opposition. The party was in opposition, so the circumstances that prevail around that time are not the same or similar circumstances prevailing now. Now the party is in government. We've served government, this is the 7th year, and we will go for 8 years. Now the mantra of the party now is that we need to break the 8. And for the first time, we are determined to set this record in the political discourse of our country. And I believe it is possible that it can be achieved. And one of the conditions that I have outlined about this possibility is that the party requires or the party needs a new face. A new face characterized by unblemishedness, a new face that who will come with a new appeal and a fresh appeal, a new face who has a natural ability to unify people, not any kind of artificial ability, but natural ability that people resonate well with him. And a new face who is also not part of this current administration.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Let's go to the Volta region, where former President John Mahama has promised to scrap the payment of ex gratia to Article 71 holders, as well as reduce the number of Article 71 office holders to reduce the pressure on the wage bill. He says the topmost priority of his next government will be to restore stability and inclusive growth to the economy of Ghana. He made these promises whilst launching his campaign to be flag bearer of the NDC in Ho.
Our country at this time urgently needs a leader with an unwavering desire to get things done in a no-frills, no-thrills, business-like manner. Not one enamored with sloganeering, excessive partisanship, personal comfort, and shallow populism. Ghana's next leader should exercise sound judgment and be able to make the right calls at the right time. A leader who accepts responsibility and works to fix the problem, and not one who shifts blame onto others. The leader should be one whose heart is filled with compassion for the people, and who has the humility to connect with and understand the needs of the people he serves. Our country requires a visionary leader who will build a prosperous and progressive Ghana for all Ghanaians and not just a few family and friends. We in the NDC we will not run a government of slogans. Instead, we will run a government of action. As a leader, you should be held accountable for your promises to the people. Your word should always be your bond. Ghana's next leader should exercise sound judgment and be able to make the right calls, as I said, at the right time. Such a leader must continue, and for emphasis, have the humility and presence of mind to take responsibility. And as I said, in this government, nobody wants to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong. Our next leader should be a leader whose heart is filled with compassion, as I said, for the people who he has the humility to connect with and understand. He should not be a leader who views the public purse as a family japadier, or in English, heirloom, or even the mandate given to him by Ghanaians to govern. He must not view it as a manifestation of his birthright. A leader who has his sights on leaving a legacy for posterity, that is what we need today. And with all the humility I can muster, I believe that I possess these qualities and that I'm uniquely placed, having sat back the past few years to take stock of our country's trajectory. I'm aware of the extent of work that awaits the next government. There's so much to fix, there's so much to repair, and there's so much to heal. But I'm set and ready, very ready. I am set and ready, very ready, to build the Ghana we want together with you. Our mission as the NDC is to get out of the current nightmare and to get out of it together, reaching to one another, listening to one another, and providing hope for all Ghanaians.
Let's cross over to the Volta region and speak with my colleague Fred Kwame Asare, who is on the ground for us. He joins us live. Fred Kwame Asare, what else has the former President John Dramani Mahama been telling the people?
Well, he mentioned that 2024 is an important poll in the history of the country, and that, given the situation, he believes that Ghana needs an experienced leader, not one who would come and do experiments. So he is in the position to better lead affairs of the country, and then recover the country's dwindling economy. He also mentioned that both the old and the young are suffering the brunt of this mismanaged economy, where officials of the government also continue to engage in corrupt practices. He mentioned that he has studied the terrain over the years, within the last 6 years, and then the affairs of the country troubles him a lot. He believes there is more to be done to restore the hope of Ghanaians and then ensure that they have enhanced livelihood. He stated that he would lead a 16-member executive to restore stability and inclusive growth to the economy. And then he will also lead the enforcement of prudent measures to restore faith in what he described as the almost collapsed financial system. Adding to that, former President John Dramani Mahama mentioned that when he eventually comes to power in 2024, he would ensure that gratia is so that it would save the public purse and then save some money, which will go to development projects and other things that would better benefit the citizenry. He also mentioned that he would also constitute a committee or lead an investigation into how the country's funds have been utilized within the last within the period when the NPP was in power, that is 2020 to 2024 and then 2016 to 2020. He was particular about the expenditure or the expenses made with the COVID funds, where he would ensure that every penny is accounted for. He also mentioned or stated that he would ensure an enhanced press freedom under his administration, where the media will not be gagged. The media will be allowed to do their work without interference. What is needed of the media to be done should be done without interference of government or government officials. He also mentioned that it is time that whoever is in charge of the country engages the grassroots to hear out their grievances, know what they need, and then ensure they are done. And also, he would not repeat the mistakes of the NPP, Akufo-Addo-led government, and then also build a formidable NDC party, which would attract the sympathy of Ghanaians.
Fred, what has been the response so far to these messages coming from the former president?
From the onset, when he was invited to the podium, the crowd cheered him up and then were ever ready to listen to what he had. One of the things that excited the crowd or the gathering at the City Auditorium of the University of Health and Allied Sciences at Chokodi here is that the scrapping of the S-Gasha. When he mentioned that when he comes to power, he would scrap off the S-Gasha, the entire auditorium went into Gaga. Let me just say that Gaga. They were excited that because over the years there have been issues with this S-Gasha thing where people are calling for it to be scrapped. So when the former president mentioned it, that when he comes to power, eventually comes to power in 2024, he would scrap off the S-Gasha. People in the auditorium were so excited about it and then cheered him on. They were also happy. He said he would launch an investigation into the expenditure of public funds and then hold people accountable. People who would not be able to account for funds that they use, or the country's funds or the state funds, they would hold them accountable and then give them the needed punishment. People were also excited about that. And then his investigations into the COVID funds as well. And then also, finally, when he announced his candidature to contest in the NDC primaries and eventually contest in the presidential primaries in 2024, the entire auditorium went into Gaga. They were excited and then were hailing his name and cheering on the NDC and then the former president for his decision to contest in the primaries and eventually in the presidential election.
Fred Kwame Asare is our correspondent in the Volta region, and definitely there's more on this in our subsequent bulletin. Let's go to Parliament because Majority Leader Secretary Mensah Bonsu says the NDC's opposition to the Electoral Commission's proposed constitutional instrument is built on falsehood and has no basis. The NDC and its caucus in Parliament say they are opposed to renew ECCI, which makes the Ghana card the sole identity document to register as a voter. Addressing journalists in Parliament, the Swami legislator argued that the NDC has always been opposed to every single improvement to Ghana's electoral system. My colleague Kweku Asante, who is a parliamentary correspondent, joins us via Zoom for more. Kweku, on what basis has the majority leader been saying this?
So he says that the NDC minority have not been attacking the substance of the ECCI, but they've just been arguing on straw basis. So, for instance, he says that the EC's proposal to make the Ghana card the sole identity document is because by law, the EC is mandated to do so. The NIE Act that was actually passed under an NDC regime, the EC is allowed to be able to do that. And that in particular, the Ghana card represents a more robust identity document. And that although there are specific concerns that there are not enough people who have been registered onto the card, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has been in Parliament. He has given some assurances that money will be released to the NIE to undertake more registrations so that by the time the ECCI goes to Parliament, by the time the EC undertakes some limited registration of a sort, more people would have been on the Ghana card for them to be able to register to vote in any public election. So the majority's contention is that the NDC are simply opposing the CI for opposition's sake, and it's not because they have any specific argument against the CI. He says that not even the Speaker of Parliament or the minority can stop the EC from laying these documents in the House. And as far as he is concerned, when these consultations are concluded, the expectation is that the EC will go ahead to lay the documents.
What else is happening in Parliament, Kweku?
So the floor itself, proceedings hasn't started yet, but there are a number of questions for certain ministers to come and answer. There are questions for the Minister for Interior. We know that there were some killings in Wa. The MP for Wa is asking what the update is, what exactly is happening with those killings, how many people have been arrested, and what is the state of prosecution. There are questions about the state of policing in the country. So we expect that some of these questions will be asked, and then the House may take an adjournment, because yesterday, NDC MPs have been complaining that it is time to campaign. It is time to campaign towards their primaries, and their opponents are in the constituencies campaigning against them, and they have to be in Parliament. And so they want some early adjournments every now and then for them to be able to go to the constituency to go and campaign.
Kweku Asante is our correspondent in Parliament. Certainly, when the House begins sitting, there will be more to share with you in our subsequent bulletins. But let's take to Parliament and talk about health, because Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alassane Soyene, has expressed fear over the possible closure of schools in his constituency following the outbreak of measles. The MP says schools in his constituency are likely to be closed down as a result of the shortage of vaccines in parts of the country. The Minister of Health, Kweku Menu, failed to honor an invitation by the Health Committee of Parliament to answer questions about the disturbing trend on Tuesday. Speaking to Joy News after making a statement on the floor, Alassane Soyene described the situation as regrettable.
We are having to deal with an outbreak of a disease, not isolated cases of a disease that we should have, completely eradicated in 2020. We are in 2023, and we are dealing with an outbreak, especially in the midst of the concerns that we do not have essential vaccines to deal with it. We, as a country, have developed, a robust system of immunization, and we have become, a case study for our peers in the sub-region when it comes to deployment of immunization. So it is so regrettable that we have all these things in place, but for lack of resources, I believe, or proper planning, we do not have the essential vaccines, and we are, seeing a retrogression in the gains that we have made over the years as far as the eradication of measles is concerned. A couple of months ago, the Tamale Central Hospital had to shut down the pediatric unit because of the outbreak of measles. And if care is not taken and this addressed aggressively, we may see the shutting down of schools, very soon, because these children do not even know how to observe some of the hygienic, things that they are supposed to observe in order to limit the, spread of measles. You are talking about runny nose, and it is usually prevalent, with children between the ages of 4 and 14. So they don't even know how to control runny nose and all of that. So if they go to school and they have these symptoms and they have these conditions, you can just imagine how many kids are at risk.
Parliament has summoned the minister to appear before the House to brief MPs on the outbreak and the reported shortage of vaccines. Alassane Soyene says it's a step in the right direction.
That colleagues, including Speaker, have agreed with my call that the minister must appear before the House to let us know where we are at as far as, government's efforts, when it comes to dealing with this outbreak is concerned. It is important that as stakeholders, we know where we are and what is expected of all of us, including parents and, health practitioners and all those in that chain, so that we can nib it in the bud. This is a disease that we're supposed to have eradicated in 2020. And so it is unacceptable that we are dealing with an outbreak in 2023.
Former head of Child Health Unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Professor Janet Nikwe, has been explaining the impact of the vaccine shortage on children. She spoke on PM Express.
Measles is a very dangerous disease, We used to have a lot of measles in Ghana, a lot of children dying from it. It's extremely infectious. So if you have even one case, then it will spread. And I have read in the newspaper that there have been measles cases in the north. So if babies do get measles, then they are very dangerously sick, and it leads to malnutrition. So these days, when there hasn't been much measles because of the vaccine, we have stopped seeing cases of kwashiorkor, which we used to see a lot of.
Yeah, and please help me appreciate this. So the timelines you're looking at is from January till now. So the last 2 months, this shortage has been a problem. So how can a child survive with these three not being available? So say you're born on New Year's Day, the 1st of January. For 2 months, the child needs this, hasn't managed to get it because it's in short supply. What are the health risks for the child? And can the child survive that long, or how long more can the child survive until this becomes a real problem?
Yes, the child can survive. And it's important that those who haven't had it at the right time would catch up afterwards. This is going to place a load on the public health nurses, because they will have multiple doses to give, which they should have given them at the right time. Yes. But no, it's not going to cause any immediate deaths apart from the measles one.
Okay, so the measles one, you're right. And I'm just pulling up the data that suggests from the Ghana Health Service records that already they've recorded some 70 deaths from last year alone in the northern region from measles. So that one can be immediately fatal, correct?
Yes, it can be. Presumably, some of those deaths were before the shortage, and that means that perhaps mothers up there are not going for their immunizations. And if you make it difficult for people, then the dropout rate will become higher, and therefore these diseases will spread.
Professor Janet Nikwe there, she's a child health expert. Well, Parliament's Health Committee is demanding the Ministry of Health to account for more than 71 million Ghana cedis paid by the NHIA for essential vaccines after they appeared before the committee late Tuesday evening. Ranking member Kwabena Mintakando says the committee will ensure they cough up the money.
But let me give you the rundown. Don't forget that the spread started somewhere last year in October in the northern part of the country. And so somewhere last week, we invited, as Parliament, that's the Health Committee in Parliament, invited some agencies and the Ministry of Health to appear before the committee to answer some questions. Now, we met yesterday, and unfortunately, the minister and his team didn't turn up in the first instance. So we gave an ultimatum that they should come to the committee within 2 hours later. So even after 2 hours later, we saw 2 hours later, we saw the 2 deputies in the ministry and the chief director and the director general for Ghana Health Service. So we asked them questions. And before then, when the National Health Insurance Authority appeared, we brought all the formulae. You know, every year, Parliament has to approve the formula for the National Health Insurance Authority. And Evans, we have realized that there's an allocation in the National Health Insurance formula for the purchase of vaccines. This is not government money. This is National Health Insurance money paid by you and I. And even it is highly unacceptable that that is the only source of funding for vaccines in this country. Highly unacceptable. And nobody can convince me.
Kwabena Mintakando is ranking member on the Health Committee. Now, when you think Crocodile Pond, what comes to mind? Did I hear you say Paga? You got it right. But what if I told you there were crocodiles in Western Region too? So if you're unable to travel all the way to Paga, you could take a quick drive to the Princess Aketechi in the Ahanta West Municipality in the Western Region, not to see only crocodiles, but also to an encounter with a priest who communicates with them. Kojo Yangsen has more for our Ghana Man series.
If someone asked you, what are Ghana's top tourist attractions, what would come to mind? Some historical buildings, wildlife, some water bodies, beaches? Now, what if I told you there was a place in Ghana, a village, where you would find at least one of each of these attractions? Well, nestled on the western coast, just 45 minutes from Takoradi, is Princess Town. 5 kilometers to the west is the seaside village of Aketechi. That is our next stop.
The fishing village of Aketechi is very lucky. They occupy a beautiful spot in nature. This is where the lagoon meets the sea. So you can actually see how the different bodies of water are combining at the head of the confluence right there. But the people of Aketechi, like many other Ghanaians, they have their beliefs. They believe that the lagoon is a holy deity which must be respected. Today we want to go close to the lagoon, see if we can spot a crocodile or two. But it's not so simple. In addition to a bottle of Coke and a bottle of Casapreco and a bottle of schnapps, we may also have to part with a few cedis before we are allowed to come close to their revered deity. Not only that, I can't go in with my shoes either. So I'll just lean against this strategically placed coconut tree and take my shoes off. Now once we go inside, there will be a ritual carried out to invite the crocodiles from the water to come out and feast on the chicken that we have bought for their dinner. So let's go in and see what there is to see.
A thick film of seaweed covers the surface of the water. It's hard to tell whether there's any living creature stirring in the deep, let alone one that is responding to the loud calls of the priest. But suddenly, there she is. The men want to give us a show. They're teasing the crocodile and making her wait for her food. But the lady does not like to be teased. They've really kept her waiting. But finally, bingo! Chicken dinner. But for her, this will have to be a takeaway because Mummy has other mouths to feed.
What's the live on Joy News today? When we return from this break, there's business coming shortly.
Hello, good afternoon. Warm welcome to the business segment on Joy News today with me, Pius Kojobaka. Board member of BCA Leadership, Dr. Modukbe Taylor Pierce, has called on African business leaders to collaborate and embrace peer leadership training. According to him, this is the only way to accelerate Africa's socio-economic growth. He has been speaking at the launch of the Made in Africa Leadership Conference.
The Made in Africa Conference is a gathering of African business leaders and business owners. The platform was created to offer business leaders the opportunity to share knowledge and create a network of like-minded leaders to accelerate Africa's socio-economic growth. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the conference, Chief Executive Officer and Board Member of BCA Leadership, Dr. Modukbe Taylor Pierce, called on business leaders to deepen collaborations and embrace peer leadership training.
We have all that we need. We have the people, we have the education, we have the brains, we have the resources, we have the connections, we even have the money to be able to do what we need to do. The only thing we have to do, though, is bring it together. And that requires us to think less as Akans or Ghas or Ghanaians and more as Africans who can work together in order to achieve our collective and individual priorities.
Chief Executive Officer for Crescendo Consult Sophia Ahiti explained that for Africa to achieve the needed level of development, accountability will be key.
It takes accountability to not ring-fence resources that are entrusted into your care for your personal gains alone or for your family's needs alone. It's not for you to enrich just yourself, your friends and cronies, but that as a leader, you are accountable enough to put to use for the benefits of the masses, for the people that are in your community.
Lawyer and leadership coach Samuel Eyim called on business leaders to build a strong knowledge-sharing network which will provide tailored solutions to Africa's problems.
The story of Africa has been told by others, and in many ways, the story doesn't represent the totality or the truth of African story. And so we want Africans to tell our own stories. We want to listen to our achievers, we want to listen to our issues. How have they solved the issues? Those who have achieved, how did they do it? There are many fantastic businesses going on across the continent. And so MLC is bringing these together and sharing ideas.
The Made in Africa Leadership Conference, which will be held in Accra, Ghana, will be under the theme, Making Africa Work for Africans, Collaborations and Partnerships.
Now, the Design and Technology Institute, DTI, has indicated that it is coaching on Precision Quality Series for small and medium enterprises and mastercraft persons to direct them at aiding to expand the operations. According to the acting project coordinator for the Design and Technology Institute, Edwin Fayose, the training is required to streamline the activities to generate more income. He spoke to Joy Business at the coaching program for some market women.
For mastercraft persons and small and medium enterprises is a follow-up to the precision quality training where they are introduced and taken through the precision quality model and how they can leverage on the knowledge to grow their businesses. According to Edwin Fayose, the coaching activities performed to ensure that the knowledge imparted during the precision quality training is embedded and implemented in the daily activities of mastercraft persons and small and medium enterprises.
You know how busy those market women are, and for them to dedicate their time to come and witness this very colorful event shows a lot, and their preparedness to work or to actually learn. They are here to actually witness what precision quality really entails. And because of their informal nature, we decided that, you know what, these strategies, we needed to find out strategies how the message could actually get to them. And then we decided at DTI to use a drama series we call drama edutainment. Now, these actors on stage are able to demonstrate what precision quality actually means. And we believe that through this drama aspects, these artisans could actually get the message we are trying to send across. And on the ground, the benefits are enormous. When you go to even their workplaces, the way they coordinate themselves, customer management, and all that. I mean, there are a lot of impacts that could show that they've received over 50 times the customers they initially used to have, which shows that precision quality is here to stay.
Greater Accra President for the Market Women Association, Mercy Jan, urged other market women to take advantage of the initiative.
Presently, things are going on very well for us, although we are in the informal sector. We have to do things adequately, not that you say this is American things of price and you put paper on that, the thing, you add small rice on top.
And that's it for Business for Now. I am Pius Kojobaka. Darokwa will come your way at 1 p.m. with the marketplace.
Let's do sports now on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. The Bayara Sports Stadium would not be available for Ghana Premier League and other domestic competitions following a decision from the National Sports Authority, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and also the Ghana Football Association. The trio had a meeting on Wednesday and decided that the facility should not be used by any club before the Black Stars African Cup of Nations qualifier against Angola. The senior national team will come up against the Angolans on March 23, and what it means is that the last game to be played on that venue is the game between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Bechem United, which was played yesterday. So until the match between Ghana and Angola is done at the Bayara Sports Stadium, and even the Under-23 African Cup of Nations qualifier between Ghana and Algeria, which will also be happening on March 28, other domestic competitions cannot be played at the venue. Let's do something now on the what Joy Sports has described as Bush Resource Centers, and the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Fayose, has revealed that the Azuma Nelson Youth Resource Center and other resource centers will be completed at the end of the year.
I'm happy to inform this August House that the second phase of the project selected, Azim, that's Dunkwa Ofen, Wa, Domahinkro, Kofodua, are near completion, with all the necessary fitting and auxiliary work progressing steadily. For this year 2023, the youth center in Ho, that's Adakulu, Yendi, Enyinanyini, Kaneshin, and Navrongo are earmarked for completion. I wish to assure this August House that the contractors will soon move to the project site, and the project will be completed by close of this year.
Former Ghana international Ahmed Polo says that Ghana has lost its identity when it comes to talent development. According to him, the country's football has taken a nosedive because of the adoption of European style of football.
The coach may go there and then, resurrect some people, or, on earth, somebody, and then the academy will come and pick it from there and continue from where it is. Because the coaches are just, the love of footballers, they want to play. But coaches, technically, they have something they are putting in place. They have some structures. And without the structures, comparative coach, it's nothing to talk about. So coach is an advanced stage. So I feel, it has to go, depending on, but it has to go with quality of what we want to, implant or infuse into the youngsters. Okay. Because we have a style of football.
Okay.
We have, we've seen the quality of football that Ghana has produced from time immemorial, even now. But it looks as if that trend is coming.
Why is our style of football, eroding?
I think what I'm seeing is that the technical direction of football is going, European style.
The full interview will be aired on the AM show and also at 2 p.m. on Friday. That's your sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. Up next is World News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Showbiz here on Joy News today. Now, Clemento Suarez has been opening up about his life as a comedian and the sector as a whole. According to him, the comedy industry is lucrative depending on the way one sees it and experienced it. He spoke on Prime Morning.
But Clemento, is it a lucrative industry?
Yeah.
Oh, they've made money. As for that one, yes.
Yeah, it's very lucrative. It's very lucrative, but you see, real estate's lucrative. But when you're being told diner, you can't make the money.
Yeah.
So the lucration there is there, but to get it to be lucrative, it's you yourself. But it's very, very. Me like that charge big money.
So how much you charge?
Depends on if it's a play, I charge differently. If it's stand-up comedy, you want me to MC, I charge differently. Yeah.
But so what's
like
the lowest
me coming
you charge?
for an interview like this, I charge differently.
You charged us how much?
They said they will give me. They'll give me 2 cedis.
50 Ghana.
2 cedis.
2 cedis.
2 cedis. That's what Mama will be.
I'm on 150.
Come and go.
Yeah, so it differs.
Oh. Now, Nkati cake is a local snack enjoyed by many in Ghana, and as part of celebrating Ghana this month, I bring to you tips of preparing this local delicacy.
There you have it. And on that note, we end Showbiz here on Joy News today. There's more Showbiz news in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Becky. Good afternoon to you, Aisha.
I'll buy you catty cake, Becky.
Yes, it's right there.
I'll buy you one.
Actually prepared it for, well, had somebody prepared it.
That's how we wrap up the bulletin this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories to enjoy the rest of our programs.